The sun is about 150 million kilometers away from Earth right now, and that distance is just right. It's not too hot or too cold. But what if the sun came a little closer? Let's say it moved 25 million kilometers closer. That might not sound like a big change, but it is. In this video, we'll look at what would happen to Earth and to us if the sun kept moving 25 million kilometers closer, step by step. At first, things might just feel a bit warmer, but it won't stay that way for long. Hint: things go from bad to worse very quickly. Because we're going to explore what happens when Earth's most important relationship heats up too much. Don't worry, we'll bring you back before anything actually burns. Probably. The Earth orbits the sun from about 150 million kilometers away. That number sounds huge, but it's actually the perfect distance. Why? Because it puts us in the Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold. It's the ideal spot for liquid water to exist, and where there's water, life can survive. Thanks to this distance, we have stable weather, seasons we can count on, air we can breathe, and oceans that stay in liquid form. The sun gives us heat, energy, food, and even helps our bodies make vitamin D. But here's the problem: this balance is very fragile. Even a small change, just a few million kilometers, could seriously mess up Earth's weather, nature, and oceans. So when we ask, what if the sun moved 25 million kilometers closer? We're not just imagining a small change in space. We're talking about a major threat to the planet. Okay, so the sun is now 125 million kilometers away instead of 150 million. It might not sound like a big deal. After all, it's still millions of kilometers away. But this small shift would start changing everything on Earth. First, temperatures would slowly rise across the globe. It wouldn't happen overnight, but within months and years, you'd notice the difference. Summers would become hotter, and heat waves would last longer. Polar ice caps would begin to melt faster than before. That means sea levels would rise, slowly flooding low-lying coastal cities. Places like Miami, Bangkok, and parts of the Netherlands could be underwater. We'd also start to see stronger UV radiation, which means more risk of skin damage, crop failure, and health issues for both people and animals. Weather patterns would shift. Some areas might get endless rain and flooding, while others would suffer from long, dry droughts. Storms like hurricanes and typhoons would get more powerful and frequent. Ecosystems would be stressed. Plants and animals that rely on certain temperature ranges might not survive the changes. Coral reefs could bleach, and certain crops might fail. In short, Earth would still be livable, just barely. But the planet would feel more unstable, more unpredictable. And remember, this is only the first 25 million kilometers. What happens when we go even closer? Now things are getting serious. At 100 million kilometers, the Earth would be roughly where Venus is today. And Venus is not a fun place to be. It's extremely hot, dry, and completely lifeless. If the sun moved this close to us, temperatures on Earth would skyrocket. We're talking about over 100 degrees Celsius in many areas. Enough to boil water. Rivers and lakes would begin to evaporate. Some would completely dry up. Water would become the most valuable resource on the planet, and many people wouldn't have access to it. Crops would fail. Plants can't grow in extreme heat without water. That means food shortages on a global scale. With high temperatures and constant energy demand, power grids would collapse. Blackouts would be common. Air conditioning, refrigeration, and basic electronics would be unreliable. The heat would also cause wildfires to spread more easily and destroy forests and homes. Air quality would get worse, and breathing could become harder, especially for older people and children. Mass extinction would begin. Animals and insects that can't adapt would start dying off. Coral reefs would be gone. The oceans would warm too much for most sea life. At this point, humans could only survive in climate-controlled bunkers, domes, or underground cities. Life on the surface would be too dangerous. And remember, this is just 100 million kilometers. We still haven't hit the worst part. At 75 million kilometers, the Earth would be in a complete state of disaster. Temperatures would rise above 300 degrees. That's hot enough to melt plastic, cook metal, and boil your skin in seconds. The surface of the Earth would turn into a pressure-cooked wasteland. Oceans would begin to fully vaporize, turning into thick clouds of steam that would cover the planet. Rain wouldn't fall. Instead, water would escape into the atmosphere, never to return. The atmosphere itself would start to break down. Earth's magnetic field, the shield that protects us from harmful space radiation, would be overwhelmed. Dangerous solar radiation would pour in, making the surface even more deadly. No plant, animal, or human could survive outside. The ground would be too hot to stand on. The air would be too toxic to breathe. At this stage, the only hope for human survival would be off the planet, maybe on Mars, maybe in space, or maybe in a fully self-contained underground city powered by advanced technology. But even that wouldn't last long. The Earth, as we know it, would be gone. At just 50 million kilometers away, Earth is no longer in a bad situation. It's in an impossible one. We'd be deep inside the sun's inner danger zone, where no planet is meant to exist. The sun's energy, radiation, and gravity would now be far too extreme for Earth to handle. The atmosphere would completely collapse, stripped away by intense solar winds. There would be no air, no clouds, no weather, just deadly heat and radiation blasting the planet's surface. Even the rocks would melt. Mountains would turn into rivers of lava. The crust of the Earth could crack open. Volcanoes might erupt non-stop if they aren't already swallowed by rising lava seas. At this point, Earth's orbit might become unstable. The sun's gravity could pull the planet in completely or blast it with solar flares strong enough to break the Earth apart. It's possible that Earth wouldn't even survive long enough to fall into the sun. It could simply disintegrate, crushed, melted, and erased. This is the end. No rescue, no bunker, no escape. Earth would no longer look like Earth. It would be gone. So what did we learn? Earth's position in space, about 150 million kilometers from the sun, is not just lucky. It's absolutely perfect. A little closer and we overheat. A little farther and we freeze. It's a tiny slice of space where everything works just right. And as we saw in this video, even a 25 million kp change can start a chain reaction that ends with our planet completely destroyed. Thankfully, the sun isn't suddenly going to lurch closer tomorrow. It's stable, for now. But in a few billion years, the sun will naturally expand and get hotter as it nears the end of its life. That means one day we will have to leave Earth. Not because we want to, but because we'll have no choice. So, what's the plan? Colonize Mars? Build underground cities? Send starships to another solar system? It sounds like science fiction, but if we want to survive long-term, we'll need real solutions. The good news is, we still have time. Time to plan, to invent, to grow. Time to dream bigger than we ever have before. And maybe, just maybe, this is the kind of challenge that pushes humanity to the next level. Let us know what you think. Where should we go next? Could we really survive on Mars? Or will we discover a new Earth out there in the stars? Drop your theories in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and stay curious. Because, luckily, the sun isn't in a rush. If you enjoyed this deep dive into what could happen if the sun moved closer to Earth, now's the perfect time to hit that like button and subscribe for more mind-blowing what-if scenarios just like this one. We cover everything from space to science to survival, and we keep it simple, curious, and fun. Got thoughts about humanity's future? Think we could build cities underground? Or maybe you believe we'll find a new Earth far across the stars? Drop your wildest theories in the comments. We read them, and who knows, your idea might be the inspiration for our next video. And if you know someone who's always daydreaming about space or worried about climate change, share this video with them. It might give them something to think about, or at least a reason to appreciate how perfectly placed Earth is right now. And remember, curiosity is our best survival skill. So stay curious, stay alert, and most importantly, don't stop asking the big questions. Until next time, keep looking up